Okay. I think a lot of the breakdown and this miscommunication actually starts with when we go into these relationship with these imaginary checklists. And be realistic in what you want and what you expect out of your person, and especially what you actually bring to the table. Don't be expecting me to bring the whole table when you only come with plastic forks and spoons.
I can go with my
What's your
question.
question? Mm-hmm.
So, men and women communicate differently. I mean, we have tons of podcasts on this, books, Men Are from Mars, Women Are from Venus. Like, we're just different. Generally speaking, we're different in our communication. So, how can we bridge the gap between men and women in this miscommunication or difference in communication with each other? And I'll start with Isaiah.
Okay. I think a lot of the breakdown and this miscommunication actually starts with when we go into these relationship with these imaginary checklists. And I'm telling you, and I'm telling anyone that you don't have to actually settle for scraps, but you do have to be realistic in what you want and what you expect out of your person, and especially what you actually bring to the table. Don't be expecting me to bring the whole table when you only come with plastic forks and spoons. And you have to be honest with yourself and what you value yourself and actually what you value out of other people. And I don't believe that we need to just find someone just exactly alike us in every single way, but you do need to find someone that actually have their own life. Basically, y'all actually are coexisting this together. You know how I feel about these legacy and dynasties coming together. But when I look into my significant other, basically I envision myself with her because of what she brings, how much of important that she is basically to my life, and that we're on the same page and we actually want the same things out of life.
Hey, that boy was getting a little heated over there. He's speaking from experience.
And you bringing plastic forks and knives to the table.
Right.
Oh, dying.
That was
I don't know
good,
why I
man.
keep forgetting the question because I be getting so caught up in what y'all can you say.
Sure. I'm gonna throw it to you. What can we do to fix this communication gap between men and women?
Okay. Now I forgot my answer. I was like, what? I get so caught up in his question. Honestly, I just
That boy doing that rant. He threw you off.
Yeah, I forgot everything. To bridge the communication gap between men and women, I think for me, I have to talk to other men that are trusted voices to find out how I should say certain things. Like if I'm talking to my homegirl, like I can call you and be like, girl, da, 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 and you're gonna take it and be like, oh yeah, because I'm used to talking to Kim as a female. But I feel with men, sometimes you can't we interpret because we understand each other because we're of the same species. You guys have a different language. You need to see things. I could say like me and Chris and Kim had a conversation about we were talking about cutting the grass. And I was saying, yeah, I would hire somebody to just cut the grass. Like I've always done that anyway. And I'm like, especially if I had a family, like, yeah. And Chris was like, why would I do that when I have a lawnmower? I can do my own grass, da 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 da. And me and Kim was trying to get him to understand that, but he didn't get it. Then he was like, somebody showed why they had somebody come and clean up and why they had somebody to come. And so he was like, oh, I get it now. But he had to see it in a different way. So a lot of times, if it's something, any man, I always ask Chris or Isaiah or a good friend of mine or whoever, like, how should I say this? Or how do I need to have this talk? I think that helps by having now don't go to any man, but men who can give you good advice. I think good advice is very much needed.
So. Trusted advisors.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good. Chris?
Uh, I think we just gotta talk, man. I think we literally have to communicate. Um, Especially considering that we know that there's a difference. I mean, we know that men hear things differently. We know that women express things differently. They may be a more emotional, or men are more, kind of task oriented. So even the concept of, we always hear like women just want to vent and talk about their day. They don't need you to solve their problem. They just want to talk about it and express it. Whereas the man is thinking the whole time, how do I fix this? How do I fix this? So it's like we're learning these things, we're learning these, behaviors and how to make adjustments, but it's still as if we are assuming that the other person should know this off top, and we're not expressing or communicating our desires, and we are letting our expectations fail us because we're withholding these words to really say, hey, like, this is how I feel, or this, when I say this is what I'm meaning, or this is what I'm trying to express. So it's really just trying to create an environment, trying to create a space where you feel comfortable to communicate in a safe space, and not in a hostile environment, and is not received negatively. I mean, that you have a partner that has your back, and so even when you say something that may be that kind of out of terms or out of the normal, that it's genuine, and you're really trying to learn from that situation, opposed to you're saying something and expecting something else, and getting upset because you don't receive it. So even he'll mention in the book how women to get together and have a spa day, or they give their girlfriends, and then create an environment where they can really talk and express themselves. And so his point was when women have something to talk about, why don't they create that same space with men, or create a space where men enjoy it? So maybe not the spa or the nail salon, but go sit at the bar, go watch a game, and slowly kind of unfold these things. So it's I feel like the information is there, we're just not utilizing it. So
guys, today we have a bone-in pork shoulder, and look, we're gonna be cooking that in our Instapot. So you guys got your Instapots ready? Let's cook.
This is the story of a boy who is very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help, and slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
If your support system wasn't what you wanted, what do you suggest if a person's going through what you've gone through? What type of support system do you feel they would need to have?
They would need to open up to mental health. That's the first thing. As traumatic as it was, I know in the African American community, or the brown people, we don't believe in mental health. And that was one of the strongest things that I went through.
When you have dealt with disappointments on our level, how the devil really wants you to isolate yourself. You want to get to counseling. You want to get to people who've gone through the same things that you've gone through.
I think too, he talked about in the book being honest in your communication. He hit on how, say, a woman might say be insecure about how she's looking, might have gained a few pounds or something, and instead of being honest with that about her partner, she'll say does this dress make me look fat? And so he's like, okay, if he gives an honest answer, it's like, what, you think I'm fit? Instead of just being honest about how you're really feeling. And I think both men and women need to tap into how they're really feeling about something, and be able to have that vulnerability and be comfortable. And like Chris said, have that environment to where you can be honest, so where you won't have that breakdown. I think a lot of times there's a lot of dishonesty about how we're really feeling about something. and that can cause a problem with communication between men and women.
Okay.
All right, look, good discussion, good conversation, but you know your boy got to do it. We got to talk about relationship, talking about dating, marriage. We got to talk about sex. So why is sex and finance? So my question, why is sex and finance such a taboo topic or conversation piece within relationships? Like, why are we so hesitant to talk about those areas when they seem to be kind of the leading cause of divorce with their marriages? Usually when you hear about people talking about, why that marriage didn't work, it was usually, something about finances or the lack of sex. So knowing this, why are we not talking about this and having these discussions prior to? And who I'm coming to first? Larry gave me an eyebrow. Yeah, look on her face. Yeah.
Look, let's do it. Let's talk about it. Let's go into this whole sex thing. Okay. So I think it's the vulnerability of the naked truth. Literally. With sex, you're uncovering everything. With finances, you uncovering everything. Like, nobody goes around showing their credit score and how much money they have in the bank. You can assume it all day. I can drive a nice car. I can do whatever. And I might have a negative balance of $120. You wouldn't know that by looking at me. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's the vulnerability that a lot of us have not experienced, so that we can just talk about those things where it's like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is how much I owe. This is what I got going on. And I think it's like that fear of rejection too. Like, what if you don't like it? I guess sex. And what if you don't like these finances, the money, and how much I owe? Because when you get married to me, you're taking on what I got. And I think that a lot of people just don't want to talk about that because it's a very vulnerable thing. Yeah, it's very vulnerable. So yeah.
That's good. Isaiah, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts on it. First, I want to gravitate towards the sex situation. I think men and women don't really talk about that outside of your friends because you don't want to be looked at in a certain type of way. I can understand that. I asked a woman point of view about that as well too. Nobody really wants to talk about body count, and we at this age where we're young, but we're responsible adults. So we've been in these situations, and we know we know what we want, and we know what what we ask for in our partner. As far as with finances, I think y'all stated before that we are professional adults, so we have actually worked so hard to obtain this type of situation to be financially free. So you want to be with somebody that actually brings out the best and shoots for the stars and just want that goals. But like L'Oreal says, that sometimes you have to be vulnerable. Like, yeah, hey, this is what I got. This is what I'm going for. This is what I want to do. But you really, like I said before, I really don't like to settle for potential. I like to settle for what you actually show me.
That's good. That's good. I think for me, man, it's really one of those things where, and Larry kind of touched on it, like we just it's so vulnerable. It's one of those areas. I mean, even you grow up, like you don't hear about your parents' finances. You don't hear about sex or anything. Even we've talked about it in the past, like even the topic of sex within the church is like just such a taboo and touchy subject. Like we know what's happening, like these babies coming from somewhere, so like we know these things are happening, but it's just it's so, I guess, vulnerable, and it's leaving people kind of leaving you in the dark discussion, and then like it's almost like you get too deep or you in too deep, and then you find out. So then things are revealed, whether it's about your finances or your sex life or desires, and then your partner's like I ain't cool with that. But if we would have had those conversations, up front, and I ain't saying first date, like I heard the discussions and talk about, on the first date, I want to know what your credit score is. I don't know how much bank account, what's in your bank account, like how much student loans you got. Like I don't think that's appropriate. But once you get to a certain space with someone, there should be a discussion And again, considering that divorce is predicated often on sex and finances, like those should be things you talk about. You know, what's enough sex? What's too much sex? You know, how much student loans are you comfortable with? You know, how much debt are you comfortable with? Even when you're talking about, you know, Isaiah, like building this legacy and this empire, like how do you do that? You know, discussions and really planning and trying to apply out, you know, your future. So we gotta have those conversations, and considering the severity of these two topics, like it's a must that we, you know, start talking about them. So, all right, I'm gonna say my little piece. Look, Ms. Lake, what you got on this topic?
I will piggyback off of Laria and the vulnerability, but I think in that, I think it's the fear of maybe being rejected about your decisions or what you may have done, or like shame attached to it. So you kind of afraid about what somebody might think about you. So with finances, like, oh, like I racked up all this student debt, or I was wilding out at one point in my life. I got all this credit card debt. Now I'm ashamed about it, you know. So wanting to share that can make people want to hide it, because I think the shame of it. So I think once people own what they've done, and you know, you might have done, like with finances, made some bad decisions, or even sexually, if you feel like you I know everybody talks about body count and all that stuff, but whatever it may be, sex wise for you, I think own who you are, and you know, forgive yourself if you feel shame or fear rejection about what somebody might think or say. Once you get comfortable in yourself, I think you're more ready to share that and be open about it. So I think it's just basically getting rid of the fear of rejection or what people might think, or the shame might feel attached will kind of keep you quiet about certain things. So I think getting good with yourself, forgiving yourself, and owning, you know, this is just my life, this is my history, whatever, this is me, and laying it out on the table, I think that will help in these discussions that typically don't happen, but should happen before you especially marry somebody, your sex life and your finances. So that's my little
good answer.
That was very good.
Night of fire.
I need some balloons right now because you just signed. That is amazing. Can you share with us that experience?
God's major assignment is people, not platforms. A lot of times, God will release us, and He'll even release us to the nations, but because the platform doesn't match, we think we're waiting. But God say, no, I released you to a people. If there are people in front of you, you've been doing it. You've been answering the call. Don't allow the level or either the size of the platform to cause you to misinterpret what God has already done.
We're ready for what God wants. God, we are lost in darkness.
The family's visit to the forest inspired a beautiful question. Mother, mother, am I a tree? You tell me to stand tall. You tell me to stay rooted. I think I am a tree. My child, of course you are. But what kind of tree will you be? The kind to hug or the kind to climb? Doesn't matter what you choose, so long as you choose to be a tree that's kind.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
We are focusing on healthy aging. What services do you have to maintain healthy skin without cosmetic procedures or products?
We have veggie facials, which are literally, VIWI stands for it is what it is. And so a veggie facial is literally what it is. It is full of vegetables that we apply to your skin. And all of the vegetables that we choose for our veggie facials are full of antioxidant, which helps anti-aging.
We hear so much about disease, and so to hear about healing and prevention, I mean, those are not the words that we're hearing these days when it comes to the African American community.
And I think we've kind of talked about it in the past as well. Like, you have to get to a space where you are whole within yourself. So whether that's you know, coming to terms with things that you may have done and kind of getting rid of that shame or whatever it may be, it's hard. It will be hard for you to be in a relationship with someone else, and to be to have these expectations of them when you haven't really kind of gotten yourself to that space. So we got to do the work on ourselves, and we got to have the conversation. So excellent book for this month, and I think it was perfect for us because we got the people here on Four Friends in a Book that can talk about it firsthand. So great selection. If you haven't read it, definitely go check it out. And man, look here, I need to hear from you, bro. What happened to my girl? What happened to my girl Nicole? Like, what?
Oh, you don't talk about that. What happened to Nicole?
I was just talking to somebody about it today. I was telling her this was the book we were doing, and she was like, "Girl, I was looking on social media for Nicole. I was Googling everything."
I was like, maybe I'll try to find. I tried to Google or something, but I couldn't find it. So Nicole needs to hit us up. That's what
Yeah, we need to hear from Nicole.
Or is that even her real name?
You're right.
I didn't think about that.
Good point. Good point. Good point. All right. So again, if you've been rocking with Four Friends for a while, you know what time it is. We have this little piece every episode, which we call the rant. 60 seconds, uninterrupted. Somebody speaking from the heart, whatever's on their mind. We don't debate it. We don't contest it. And you know we got Mr. Rant Man. He hit us every time. We never know what we get to. About to step up and take another hit at this rant. So we about to. He had a little mini rant on this earlier. You know, he started talking about these relationships. I don't know what we getting. We never know what we getting. But my brother, look, do your thing. Starting now. Go.
For the past 2 weeks, the world has watched the devastation happening in Ukraine. But what I don't want to happen is Brittney Griner's stories to get lost in that situation. Brittney Griner, a 7-time WNBA All-Star, 2 Olympic gold medal, and a championship ring, plays professional basketball overseas in Russia during her offseason. And since February, it has been reported that Brittney has been retained by the Russian government and could face up to 10 years in prison. What Brittney had was hash oil, which is most often used for anxiety, to reduce inflammation, and to manage pain. And it's easy to see why she was using it. And since it was in her handbag, my guess is she was probably forgot it was in there. And in other countries, it probably wouldn't be a big deal. But in Russia, it is a big deal, and especially in Russia right now. And I personally wouldn't have gone there right now. But when she has actually played there over the years, she probably didn't think it was actually a big issue. Regardless of the opinions around the WNBA, Black women athletes, drug usage, a U.S. citizen is being detained. It's really serious. And I hope she doesn't become a pawn in this game between two countries. And sending thoughts and prayers are sometimes thought of as cliche, but in this moment, this is all we have. But in today, I'm sending all mine to Brittney Griner. May she return home soon and safe. And that's that on that.
That's good, brother. That's good. And I think she may have kind of getting lost with everything else that's going on. But I can only imagine that situation being very scary, considering that you're stuck in another country and a war is going on. So let's definitely keep her in our thoughts and prayers, and hopefully she'll have a safe and quick return back home. So good. That's good. All right. So Four Friends in a Book podcast just wrapped the rant, just wrapped this book, the conversation by Hill Harper. So, as always, we read books over here every month. We want you guys to read with us. So Isaiah, tell them about the book for next month.
Hey guys, before we let you go, we want you to actually join us in our next discussion as we discuss How the Word is Passed by Clint Smith. This book is a New York Times bestseller and is on a short list of every single list that you can actually think of, and now is on the radar of Four Friends in a Book, and you don't want to miss it. Laria, tell the viewers when they can tune in.
You guys can tune in to Four Friends in a Book every third Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every third Thursday. So go ahead on, put us in your phone, lock us in, so that you can do that and watch us and be with us and read with us.
And our YouTube family is growing. So if you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube.
Yeah.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at 4 Friends in a Book.
Okay. Yeah, guys. As always, we appreciate you guys rocking with us. Also, be looking out for those author spotlights. We're featuring authors as a new edition of our 4 Friends podcast as well. So be looking out for those. And as always, guys, we thank you for your time, for joining with us. Let's continue to read, let's learn, let's grow, and let's have a discussion here on 4 Friends in a Book. Thank you.
Night of fire.
I need some balloons right now because you just signed. That is amazing. Can you
Thank you.
share with us that experience?
God's major assignment is people, not platforms. A lot of times, God will release us, and He'll even release us to the nations, but because the platform doesn't match, we think we're waiting. But God's saying, I released you to a people. If there are people in front of you, you've been doing it. You've been answering the call. Don't allow the level or either the size of the platform to cause you to misinterpret what God has already done.
We're ready for